guys, I'm Zed.
And I'm Z.
So
Innistrad Crimson Vow
came out Saturday.
At least for pre-release, it came up Friday. We're filming this on the Saturday after the pre-release.
And you guys are seeing this Monday.
Yeah, it's been a little bit hectic, so we're a little bit behind on filming, but we're hoping to try to get a little bit ahead and back on schedule.
But we have been looking forward to this, and Wizards of the Coast kind of dropped the ball on this. I'm not putting blame on them yet.
I will. Basically, reports are kind of out right now, at least from what we're being told, that some local stores are having issues getting the set boosters to go along with this set. They'll be available down the road, but right now, at least for the start or the opening of the set, they're not going to be out there. So I do already have a plan in place to try to get one for the channel here, so we can do our usual box opening. I've already kind of procured that and worked that with our friendly local game store.
Shout out to Gardner Games.
And so at this time, the main thing is, while we're excited for these cards, we really wish that Wizards had kind of either delayed the set or done something to ensure that the cards would be available to anybody who wanted to pick them up.
Yeah, and from what it sounds like, they should be out. Well, at least not the set boosters.
Draft boosters? Or...
No, set boosters. Set boosters should kind of be out on release, but the draft boosters are going to be late.
I'm not sure exactly. I just know that there may be some supply issues with this set, and so that has kind of stifled a little bit of the excitement I had about it, admittedly. So, WotC, really, this is one of those instances where you probably were better off delaying the set, so you didn't have people going, oh, hey, burnout from too many sets, and then, hey, now that there are so many sets, I can't even get this one. Why should I care?
Actually, I was trying to ask that. Has there been an increase on sets coming out?
It definitely feels like, at least for the Commander players, that we've been kind of barraged with content here as of late, and so it feels like they're trying to force more products out, they're trying to get more stuff in our hands, which is kind of taking more out of our pockets, so it's hitting us a little bit harder financially, and with the Magic secondary market prices fluctuating, I won't get too heavy into that, but yeah, it's definitely played an impact. So hopefully Crimson Vow is available where you're at, and you're able to pick it up, no problems. Again, I know it's been a little bit of a finicky thing here at the start. Hopefully we can get past it pretty quickly.
And if it is, go down below and tell us what you pulled, what you were looking forward to, the normal stuff. But we're going to go ahead and jump into this. Go ahead and...
Yeah, so I'll go with my number 5 here, just to kind of get us started. That's going to be Henrika Dominathi, the legendary black vampire. Kind of reminds me of like the demonic pack effect, where it's like, hey, you can't... I believe that's the right card. But basically, it's one of those, hey, you can pick an option, you can't use the option more than once, and it transforms. So it's one of the kind of bloodline type vampires from the set that kind of show off the Innistrad vampire bloodlines. It's really cool. I'm all about it. And when it flips, it becomes kind of a little bit beefier vampire Nighthawk, which anyone who was playing around when that card was predominant should remember how much of a beating it was. So it's always fun. And when it flips on its backside, it can also be an anthem to pump up your stuff. So I'm down with that.
Yeah, I think I saw that one. I really wasn't looking into the vampire stuff, but it did look like a good card. I'm sorry, I'm having...
For what it's worth, we're using our smartphones right now, as well as I've got a notepad to kind of keep some information set aside here. So that way, if you see us looking down, it's just looking at our phones.
I'm actually having... I pulled the card so I could actually talk about it.
Card?
Okay.
Repository Scab.
It's a 1 blue, 3 colorless zombie. Exploit. When this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. Kind of cool. When repository Oh my god, I'm going.
Repository Scab.
Exploits a creature. Return target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, and it's a 3/3. I actually kind of like that.
Yeah, it's another fun Archaeomancer, Mnemonic Wall type effect where you get to reuse a lot of those instant sorceries from your graveyard because you're putting them back in your hand. You'll cast them again, they'll go back to the graveyard, and in theory, if you can chain the scabs together, that means you can get more.
And I mean, in my zombie deck, it likes to make tokens.
Mm-hmm.
And a token is a creature.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a good way for you to use your decayed tokens.
Yeah.
If you've got those available to you. Otherwise, a traditional token will work. Or even just the guy that's kind of lost its value, is meant to be an early game 0/4 defender type guy. You know, something like that, you can kind of get it to there. Or feed your graveyard for resources. Oh, hey, you want things to die? Go to the graveyard so you can cast it back from the graveyard.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's going to put me in my number 4, which is Child of the Path. It's one of the uncommon signpost limited cards, the red-green werewolf. It's a 2/5 for 4 human werewolf with the ability to, a red, a green, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So it's a mana outlet. You'll be able to dump your mana into it and make tokens. That's on the day side. When we get to night, it becomes a trampler 5/5. Other creatures you control get +1/+0. So it becomes an anthem effect on its backside and allows you to be very aggressive. It's pretty beefy itself, and you know, it's one of those little girl goes to be the giant terror. It's kind of like the reverse, like Red Riding Hood here. So.
Oh yeah, I did see that one. I love the artwork on that one.
Yeah. So you know, I'm excited for it, but again, wolves, werewolves, I'm all for that. I'm biased.
Yeah, and you're going to see a kind of bias here for me too, because my next one is Undead Butler. 1 black, 1 colorless, zombie. When Undead Butler enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. When Undead Butler dies, you may exile it. When you do, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand. It's a 1/2. I mean,
yeah.
I make you mill 3 cards. No, I mill 3 cards.
Yeah, so you feed your graveyard.
And then when it dies, hey, that guy that you didn't like, well, now he's back in my hand.
Yeah, so it's not as good as some of the abilities that I'll put directly on the battlefield there, but at the same time, it's one of those, it's a way to get you resources, and if the game gets long and grindy, it's a way you can get just small incremental advantage on your opponent.
And, I mean, if it has a trigger effect when it enters the battlefield,
it's a way you can reuse it.
Yeah.
That's going to move me over to number 3. I know a lot of mixed feelings have come out about this card. I'm pretty excited for it myself. I know one of our friends doesn't really care for the way they've taken this character. That's going to be Odric Bloodcursed. Boros, legendary creature, 1 red or white for a 3/3 legendary vampire soldier. When it enters the battlefield, create X blood tokens, where X is the number of creatures with abilities from among Flying, First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, Haste, Hexproof, Indestructible, Lifelink, Menace, Reach, Trample, and Vigilance, found among creatures you control. You can only count each ability once. So, it's a new keyword soup commander, and if you've been using the old Odrics for this ability, or similar thereof, keyword soup style decks, this one just allows you to add red, which means those things that white doesn't get as well, or they have to splash in equipment for, now they can get it in terms of their creatures. On top of that, it's not quite card advantage, but it's card selection for the Boros decks. So while they kind of hurt for that already, this is a way to help them out just a little.
Sorry, guys. For some reason, I don't have one of my cards. Go figure. I'll be better next time. My next one is Patchwork Crawler. It's a blue zombie. When you
can pay some mana, exile a creature from your graveyard, put a 1/1 counter on it, and then it has all activated abilities of creatures exiled that way, I believe.
Yes. And it's a pretty interesting card because if you you can exile some pretty good abilities and put it on this guy.
Yeah, my only concern with this type of card is it's one of those things that becomes a degenerate combo piece pretty quickly. So these people tend to figure out that these are going to be linear decks and they go a very specific way. We've seen that with some commanders there in the past or other cards. So it's just something to keep in mind. If you're not into the repetitive play patterns, it may just be something that you may want to consider looking at avoiding. Though, if you're going to just constantly have a list of cards you're swapping in and out of the deck and keeping a rotation, then this card should be fine. It's just, that's a little bit of a warning to anyone looking at this, is that it can become a little bit repetitive at times.
And, I mean, it might end up being a part of my deck for a while and then go away. I tend to do that.
Yeah.
Even with cards I like, I tend to take them out.
Yeah. As for me, kind of, I can see a repetitive play pattern. I generally will try to avoid the plays that make that pattern. So for me, it's not so much I can have that self-control to avoid it, but I can see why it's not fun for some people.
That is true. I can see that also. I don't know. I kind of like it, though.
Oh yeah, it's a great design card. I like these abilities existing. There are obvious warning signs from history that tells us, hey, be on the lookout for these things. So I would be doing y'all a disservice if I did not bring that up.
So maybe play it a couple times and then take it out of your deck?
Or just kind of be aware of the pattern and be aware that, hey, you may want to do some things to change the pattern, whether that's rotate cards in and out, or just make sure you are able or willing to have a substitute card there you may want to pull out for it.
What's your next one?
So for number 2, she's getting overstaged at her own wedding. Every bride's kind of a panic moment, I think.
Yeah.
You would have to tell me. You would have been the one that's married. But that's going to be Olivia, Crimson Bride. Kind of one of the big signature cards here in the set. So in this case, she's going to be a 6 mana for a red black for Legendary Vampire Noble, 3/4 Flying Haste. When it attacks, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, tapped and attacking. It gains whenever you don't control a legendary vampire, exile this creature. Now, the notable thing is it says legendary vampire. It does not need to be the Olivia. You could have Anjay, you could have, Odric from earlier in the list. You could have Henrika from earlier in the list. Basically, it's just a recursion engine that says, hey, the main red flag we want you to do is either have your commander alive, if this is the commander, or have another card that's very similar to it in the terms of it being a legendary vampire creature.
Would that be Dracula?
Yeah, Dracula could be an option as well, which, while we're at the Dracula cards, let's just throw those in the honorable mentions. I know some people are super, super hyped for them. I'll be honest, I'm not super excited for those. I don't really care for them as much, but
I kind of am. I did not look them up because I figured everyone else would know about those cards. And I want them, but that's because I'm a collector and I like to collect things. I don't even know if I would play the Dracula cards, to be honest.
Well, I know one of them is the Biobox promo.
Ooh, nice.
Which is, I think it's the castle. And then the others are supposed to be, if I recall correctly, he can fact check me on the screen down here if we need to. The others, I think, are going to be like buy a box promo or like in the little sealed pack that you get with it. Kind of like they did the expeditions back in the day or things like that. So basically, you get a box, you'll probably wind up with 1 or 2 if you get the buy a box promo. So
it'd be interesting. Also be interesting to see the price on those after a little bit.
I would just probably wager it's going to be similar to the expeditions that exist. Some will maintain their value pretty well. Some of them, it's going to just depend on how these cards see play. They're not going to be massive real estate items like fetch lands, shock lands. So that's going to impact it a little bit. But people like these just like they like the Godzilla cards. So I'm fine with them existing. I'm glad they kind of went the way they did, like the Godzilla cards, where they reference a pre-existing card. But for me, they're just not what I kind of want. So I'm not terribly upset for them existing. I'm just not super hyped about them.
It's Dracula. I'm cool with it.
I would have been much more down for Castlevania. So.
Ooh, yes. So, necromancy.
Necromancy, but in this case, you're number 2, necroduality.
Necroduality. My bad. Again, sorry about my reading skills. It's 3 white, 3 colors, 1 blue. An enchantment. Whenever a non-token zombie enters the battlefield upon under your control, create a token that's a copy of that creature. I mean, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, imagine that in Gisa and Giralf, where I cast a zombie out of the graveyard. It puts 2 copies into play. I sacrifice the new one, and so I can just keep casting out of the yard and get multiple copies of the same card. It seems fun, right?
Yeah. Now, I do have a question.
Yeah.
It says create a token of that.
Yes.
So if it's a legendary...
You still have to apply by legend rule unless you have an effect that says otherwise. Thank you cards like Spark Double, Mirror Gallery, and Sakashima.
Well, there you go. That answers that question, but it's still kind of cool because there are several zombies that I could think of that would work great for this.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, at the end of the day, the biggest thing is if you can reuse or get a lot of value out of your zombies, entering the battlefield, dying, small little incremental triggers like that are going to go off, this was a way to kind of pseudo double up on them, or if you're in Gisa and Giralf, triple or quadruple up on those effects. So, you know, for me, that's why when y'all saw my zombie deck tech, if you saw that, I went with Gisa and Giralf because I wanted the more long-term grindy value. This is just another way to kind of get me that long-term incremental value over the course of the game, so that eventually when something happens, that grindy value has allowed me to shift the paradigm of the game where it's like, okay, yeah, I'm not significantly better than anybody else here on board, but the 1 point of damage I'm pinging here or there has put me ahead 13 points of life.
Yeah, him getting 1 point ahead can sometimes win him the game where he doesn't say it does.
Yeah. So, life's a resource. Use it as you got it.
Yes. Okay, so before we get to the number ones, as always, if you like this stuff, please go down and subscribe. Yeah. Hey, guys, we're at 59 subscribers, which is awesome. For me, from you, thank you guys for subscribing and continuing watching our stuff.
Yeah, and we do try to engage with the comments, and, you know, honestly, we appreciate anyone who provides any kind of feedback. Again, we're still kind of learning and working on the go here, trying to be flexible. So it's one of those situations where we do thank you greatly here for anything you want to kind of contribute, whether that's just a like on the video of you, you know, subscribing, anything, it helps.
I don't know the guy's name, but I'm going to add it here. Massive shout out to this dude, because he took the time on our philosophy of deck building video and wrote almost an essay, it looked like.
Yeah, it was 5 long paragraphs, and, you know, we're shouting you out because I got this message right as I'm about to get ready for work the next day. You know, I'm wrapping up for bed probably about 10:30 after dealing with a massive migraine, and so it's like, you've got to read this. So I took the time to sit down and read it. I'm like, okay, well, make sure you try to send him something back in response. I kind of gave him a little bit of, you know, my point of view of things. So hopefully he did get back to you. If not, we're at least giving you a shout out here.
I haven't got back to you yet. I don't know what to say, dude. What you put, I did read through it. I don't know what to say. I massively thank you, and some of the pointers I will be going back to those in that video and for future deck builds of my own. So thank you for giving me some more stuff to look at and to helping the community.
Yeah. So at this point, let's just roll into the honorable mentions. We've already kind of mentioned the Dracula cards. So I'll kind of start us off here with a reprint. Whoa, shocker. This set actually does have a fair number of reprints. A lot of them were really good for various formats. They brought my girl back. I wanted a new card. They gave us a reprint. I'm not too mad about it. It's about a $9 to $10-ish card at the time I last looked. So, making the card more affordable and more available, I'm totally okay with. That's Thalia, Guardian of Theremin.
Ooh.
So I can read this one without having to look it up. That is 2 mana, 2/1, human soldier with first strike. Non-creature spells non-creature spells cost 1 more to cast. Basically, it's a way of, hey, instants and sorceries, we're going to kind of slow you down a little bit on that one. We're going to play a fair game of Magic. Or in this case, hate bears, or any other kind of way you want to phrase it. I was hoping we'd get a new one in the set here that I could build a commander deck around. Instead, it was a reprint. Either way, though, I'm still cool. We'll make it work. But yeah, I'm really excited. Great reprint they gave us there.
My first one is Aim for the Head. 2 colors, 1 black. Sorcery, choose one. Exile target zombie, or target opponent exiles 2 cards from the hand. Now, I'm going to be honest. This one gets the honorable mention because of its picture.
Yeah. It just, all I think of is Aim for the Head is, traditional zombie rules and, what Thor should have done in, Avengers. And, yeah.
But, like I said, I'm adding this because of the picture. It just shows a zombie with an arrow sticking through his head. And I got a chuckle out of it.
Yeah. Moving to my next one, we're going to go with Hullbreaker Horror, which anyone who knows me knows I love my flash creatures. Anyone who knows me well knows I love my big dumb control flash finishers. So this is just another one of those cards. It's a Kraken Horror, so it's relevant for those Sea Leviathan decks, basically. Flash can't be countered, so it's going to win you a control matchup. 7 mana, 7/8. Whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell you don't control to its owner's hand, or return non-land permanent to its owner's hand. So basically, it's an unsummon, or it's a way you can bounce a spell. Either way, it's a really, really good, fun, grindy control card that, oh, hey, cool, you're doing a thing. In response, I'm going to brainstorm, instant, trigger, get an ability. It makes your cantrips just a little bit more impactful. Oh, excuse me. And over the course of the game, it could be a second Tidespout Tyrant in your deck. I don't necessarily think I would equate it directly. They're different, but fill a similar role.
Yeah. Sorry. My next one is
Persistent Specimen.
For 1 black, you create a creature skeleton. I know. Its effect is pay 2 colors, 1 black, return Persistent Specimen from the graveyard to the battlefield tap. It's a 1/1. I like it because for 1 mana to get out on the field, it's a 1/1. And then for 3, it comes back to the field tapped. And I don't feel like it's overpowered because it does come back tapped. And it is 3 mana to get it back from the graveyard.
The 3 mana is the big thing that kind of taxes it, makes it a little bit less effective than other options. Though notable, it's another skeleton, it's another come out of the play from the graveyard card, and it's skull clampable, I believe. It's a 1/1, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so it's skull clampable, which means for 1 mana, equip your skull clamp, it dies, draw 2 cards. So it's another creature that you can use in a skull clamp engine to try to get you even more cards in hand. Admittedly, it's in black, so it doesn't need all the card draw, but it's another piece if you're looking at having those options available to you.
I was just thinking that's another creature that I can bring back from my graveyard for my zombie deck.
Yeah. So, if we're kind of doing the cheat thing like I did last set, where it's a card, and it's a bunch of its friends. This case, we're going with Runebound Wolf. 1 and a red for a 2/2 creature wolf. 3 and a red. Tap. It deals damage equal to the number of wolves and werewolves you control to target its opponents. So it's burn, applied directly to the forehead, based on the number of wolves and werewolves in play. Its honorable mentions get to be all its little wolfy buddies all along the screen here. Maybe minus my number 1. Maybe that's a spoiler.
More wolves. We like wolves. I like wolves. I give him credit about that, but I like wolves. Alright, so...
That brings you to your third honorable mention.
I actually don't have...
Insert Dracula cards here.
Wait, no. We can go with Chill of the Grave. 2 colors, 1 blue. Instant. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a zombie. Obviously, this is energy for my zombie deck. Target creature. Tap target creature. It doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Draw a card. I mean, it taps out my opponent's creature that, hey, this is the guy that's been bugging me. He doesn't untap. Now, obviously, you are probably going to have a way of fixing that for yourself. But for a person like me, that's pretty harmful. My creature does not untap.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of those... The spell is interesting to me because it does kind of cantrip itself. It draws a card after. It's got its built-in cost reduction, and it's a cryomancy spell. It's a chill of the grave. I like it. It's one of those small little weird things like that will catch a card for me and go, you know what, I enjoy that. That makes me smile. So.
And it also looks like the zombie on the picture's got a breath weapon.
Yeah.
Alright, so, number 1s.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who saw the set knew I was probably going with a wolf for my number 1, so it's not like it's super unheard of. In this case, I went with Cemetery Prowler, which is from the Mythic Rare Prowler cycle, or the Cemetery cycle. I don't know how they're calling it here. But basically, it's 3 mana, 3/4 Vigilant. Whenever it attacks or enters the battlefield, exile a card from a graveyard. So, first of all, I play Commander predominantly. We don't like people playing out of the graveyards because graveyards are where you get a lot of value. And frankly, I want to be the one winning the value race. However, spells you cast also cost 1 less to cast for each card type they share with cards exiled with Cemetery Prowler. So for example, I get your Solemn Simulacrum from the graveyard. That's an artifact and creature. Then I go to play my own. I pay 2 mana for it. It shares a creature type and an artifact type.
Ooh.
So, basically it's a way where it's a cost reducer, but it's not really meant to be a cost reducer. It's just an added benefit to a really hyper-aggressive body, because again, it's a 3/4 for 3, it's vigilant, and it's an exile effect. So,
that's actually really cool.
Yeah, so I'm excited for it. I'm really glad it exists.
And it's a big wolf.
It is a big wolf. Oh, it is big puppo.
Looks like he's chewing on some bones that he dug up.
Probably.
Alright, so my last one is...
Cemetery Desecrator. So it seems Zed went with another one in the Cemetery cycle. For perspective, I send him my list ahead of time so he can kind of pull resources. He doesn't show me until we actually get to the point of filming. So I learn it all on the fly.
And also, I don't necessarily look at his list until after I've chose mine, just so that there's no crossovers like there was this time, but I went ahead and changed my list.
We had 2 crossover cards, Necro Duality and Henrika. So we kind of just split the vote there, and one person got one person got the other.
But yours was an honorable mention.
Yeah, I had a bunch of cards I was super excited for in the set, and so I kind of just tried to focus in on those.
Which, again, this set is... Magic... I want to say G-Dubs. Wizards of the Coast does usually do a awesome job with these sets, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm looking forward to that's not on the list. And yeah, so boy, back to this guy, Cemetery
Desecrator.
Desiccator. 4 colorless, 2 black, zombie, menace. Menace? Menace?
Yep. Menace.
Menace. When Cemetery Desecrator enters the battlefield or dies, exile another card from a graveyard. If you do, choose 1. Remove X counters from target permanent, where X is the mana value of the exile card.
That includes loyalty counters, so get rid of that Planeswalker, please.
Oh, that does. Nice. I did not know that. Target creature an opponent controls gets X -X until end of turn, where X is the mana value of exile card. And it's a 4/4. So, yeah.
It's a removal spell.
Yeah, it does pretty good. I like it, and it's a big, beefy zombie.
That also hate bears out your opponent's graveyard. Because at the end of the day, when you own the graveyard, you're the only one allowed there.
So I guess the moral of this video is own the graveyard?
At least have a plan for the graveyard.
Yes. I normally don't do a lot with the graveyard, but I guess my zombie deck would do a lot with the graveyard.
Yeah, I mean, the easiest way to think of it is it's another resource. If you could tap into it, it can act as a second hand. And Innistrad has always had these graveyard synergies and interactions, much like certain other sets. Innistrad predominantly is well known for it. So it's one of those, is there any interesting graveyard interactions y'all have that y'all want to see from this set? Is there anything that, you're thinking we may be underrating, overrating, things you think we might be wanting to look out for? Let us know.
I mean, we're always up for a discussion. Final.
Overall, like I said, it's a set I enjoy. So I'm going to be honest. I wish that there were more werewolves in the set. I wish that there were, they did a good job with the wolves and werewolves they put into it. I pretty much want all of them. But it's one of those, it does feel like a major saturation of vampires, which, cool, it's a vampire set. I get that. But, last set we had a lot of humans and we had a lot of, we had a fair number of wolves and werewolves. We also had a lot of vampires back in that set, though. We also had a lot of spirits in that set and zombies.
Yeah.
And here it just feels like it's a lot of vampires. So this set doesn't feel as, creature type balanced. That said, not a bad thing. The set looks fun. It's got fun cards in it. Obviously, I picked a bunch of vampires here for this set as well, so it's not like I'm mad that they exist. Other kind of thing I wish, and this is something where if your group's cool with it, I think would be great. They did not give the groom and bride partner, even if it's partners with. That I feel is a chance lost, that really Olivia and Markov should have partner with each other, just so that way it fits a little bit more thematically and the Vampire Commander players have another commander that isn't outrageously expensive.
Actually, yeah, I would have liked to have seen that. I didn't even think about that, but
yeah, and these are all minor nitpicks. Overall, I say the set is pretty good. A lot of reprints. For me, I don't want to be the shill. I don't want to be the person who's just like, hey, listen, there's nothing wrong with the set, when at the beginning we've outlined there's some supply issues coming up right now. The set wasn't exactly what I wanted, but it was a good set nonetheless. It's not like other sets in the past that I feel have failed to hit the mark for me. I think this one hit the mark of what I expected and what I wanted, with certain hiccups along the way.
Overall, I like it. There was a lot. I didn't know what to expect because, well, I go into these things kind of blind, so I don't know what I'm looking for or not. My major gripe about it is the supply issue. If you're going to have a pre-release, you gotta have the stuff out.
Well, and luckily, the pre-releases were able to fire. They replaced, instead of set boosters for the kits, or like the prize support, they did draft boosters. So they gave us a short-term fix, but the fact that we needed a short-term fix rather than just, hey, listen, we're going to push it back a week to make sure we can meet the supply and demand, as well as to maintain the quality that they, would try to be indicating they have. That's a little bit alarming, especially if it becomes a recurring trend going forward.
And see, that's my problem, is some companies do that where they make a hiccup once, they don't learn from it, and it happens over and over and over. Wizards, let's not do that. You've been good. You haven't been the Pokemon. So let's not cause that issue.
And for what it's worth, Pokemon's getting better now. So it's one of those, there's ways we can make this work. It's a concern. It hasn't reached to be a problem yet. We'll see how that develops. So let us know what you pull out of the set. Any cool fun mythics. If you bought a box and you got one big splashy card, let us know what it was. If you pulled, you bought 3 packs and you pulled 3 mythics, let us know. We want to see kind of what everyone's getting out of this set, because I haven't even opened my pre-release kit yet. It's one of those, we're going to kind of gauge and figure out how we're going to do that. Obviously, I got that box procured. It might be a little bit longer to get it. It might be a little bit longer to do an opening, but there's a plan there. And then I've already got the Commander decks ordered as well. So hopefully you'll be seeing some upgrades on those at some point here soon.
Yes. Stay forever noob. Stay safe. I'll catch you next time. Peace.
Take care.